All right, guys, welcome back to Downtown Rams. As always, I'm Alexis Kraft, joined here with my co-host Jake Ellenbogen, and we are coming to you with a doubleheader this week. We are both going to recap our win over the Minnesota Vikings 27-9 in the NFL wildcard round on Monday night, as we all watched, and we are going to preview our divisional matchup against the Philadelphia Eagles this Sunday in Philadelphia. Jake, the Rams beat the Vikings. We called it. You and I were riding high on them. A lot of people weren't. A lot of people weren't high on the Rams going into this game. But the Rams came in, Jake, and honestly, from the beginning, I just felt like dominated. I mean, scoring on the first offensive drive. When's the last time that happened for the Rams? We all were joking about it on social media. They had a beautiful drive to start the game, end up scoring. The defense had one of the best games I've seen them play all year. Jake, let's get into some of the specifics of, that win against the Vikings, but I just want to hear first, overall, what was your overall thought about that game?
Well, we'll have plenty of time to get into that. I do feel like we have to address there were people that were in here the last time we went live on a Friday night until 5 a.m. Eastern.
Yes. Yeah, so let's talk about it now. I didn't know that I thought we were going to talk about this at the end, but let's talk about it.
Yeah, now. let's talk about it now. Like for people like Everything Footwear 08 who watched every single piece of the 9-hour live stream. First off, we want to give, being transparent and everything. We were able to raise over 11,000 on GoFundMe. Obviously, there are fees with GoFundMe, so those have been taken care of. We have the money that will be dispersed out to those when it actually arrives at our, bank, essentially. So can't stress it enough. We really appreciate you. We wanted to do the best we possibly could for LA, for our community, for the people that have kind of taken us in here and allowed us to, do this, because I think I'd still be doing this if our views were low, but the amount of support that we've had, Alexis, I mean, it's just not really the same. It's been on just another plane. We continue to grow our brands, being able to go out to any Rams game and be acknowledged and noticed as somebody in person, being asked to take pictures with. And, it's just, you don't really get used to that. It's a really great feeling, but this is because of people, like our community, and these people have lost so much. And say what you will, maybe they haven't lost their homes, but if a friend or a relative or anybody they know lost a home, to me, they're connected to that. And that, there's a lot of trauma that's been going on just being a part of this. So we did the best that we could. You guys really helped us out. We came close to $20,000 when you include Colton's donation in our name, and then you had Fantasy Cares. They ended up matching $6,000 instead of $5,000. So Scott Fish, can't thank you enough. And it's just been kind of a wild ride, the last week or so. We weren't really able, I definitely did not cover the game like I wanted to, Alexis, and I take full responsibility, but I was really having a hard time just focusing and just being, there for this community in the light of me being an entertainer and analyst and all that, because I just kept thinking about what people were going through, and I'm so glad that we did that live stream. With that said, I also want to say that everybody needs to give Alexis a lot of credit, because I was going to do it by myself, but I don't think it would have been nearly as effective. And this girl right here on a Friday night gave up 9 hours of her time, knowing full well the next day she was going to have to get up and go do improv. So give it to Alexis. Like, I make my own hours. I can work at 4 a.m. I can get up at 8 a.m. That's just the way my life is. But she's got another job, and then she comes home from a long day of work, goes 9 hours live, and then goes out and does the improv. That is who Alexis is as a person. That, speaks to her work ethic. Give her all the flowers, the credit. I don't know anybody else who would have done that with me. So, Alexis, shout out to you. I just want to make sure people understand that this wasn't just the Jake Ellenbogen fundraiser. This was Downtown Rams. Downtown Rams isn't Jake Ellenbogen. It's Jake Ellenbogen and Alexis Kraft, and it's been that way since 2019.
Well, I appreciate it. Thank you. And yeah, that means a lot. And I'm just glad that we were able to do something to help. And the discussions you and I have been having since, this thing took place and wondering what we could do. So when I knew that you were going to do that live stream, I was like, why don't we do it on Downtown Rams? And, I would love to help. I'd love to, do something, for everybody who has been affected. And so many of our listeners have, so I'm glad that we were able to think of something to give back, because we certainly do want to give back to the people who have given so much to us. And so, yeah, I'm glad that we were able to raise almost $20,000 for the city of Los Angeles and all the people who need, help there. That's going to mean a lot to them. And it means a lot to us to be able to assist with that. And thank you again to everybody who donated and who stayed up with us that
was wild.
Late.
We were singing. It was an event.
We were singing.
We did not talk football for 9 hours. We didn't do it. And it wasn't going to be possible. It just wasn't. And it was so long that when we went to upload the audio, because I had people ask, why was the audio so short? I had to literally cut it down to like 2 hours because the audio was too big. The file was too big. So it cut off most of it. It actually didn't upload it at first. Now it's uploaded on all audio platforms. But what a night. It was really cool to just see all these people who just stayed the whole time. And also, there was a huge college football game and people were here. So I'm just saying that was a big deal.
That was a big deal because that was the night. It was Ohio State and Texas, right?
Yes.
Which is like that was a huge game. And, I suspected that people were going to be watching it, but I'm glad that everybody in the chat hung out with us and made it a really fun night.
You had your McDonald's. I had my Wendy's.
Yeah, we did get our fast. It was late, and we decided to DoorDash, and that was pretty much all that was available.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not a Wendy's guy. After that, I was like, this food's kind of mid. Plus, the fries tasted like iceberg lettuce, which I'll never understand why that was the case. That was a little concerning. But anyway, so we really appreciate you guys. But we really appreciate the Rams. For one,
yes, we do.
Making our job a little bit easier so we don't have to just transition right into the offseason. Two, we're both fans of the Rams. So while, yes, we cover the Rams, all that, we're still fans. And I can't stress enough, and I also want to give a ton of credit to the Arizona Cardinals organization for laying out the red carpet essentially in just an awful, awful time. Sending two, giant planes to pick up everybody in the Rams organization, their family and their pets. Just incredible stuff. And their team store, putting all the Rams gear in there. They did a lot at the signage, just everything to make it look like a home game. And of course, the Vikings fans really showed out, but got to give the Cardinals a lot of credit for the fact they were able to do that. Now, with that said, I think the Rams had one of the most impressive wins I've ever seen in my 29 years of watching sports. The fact that they had their process disrupted. They had, in a game that's so mental, any sport's mental, but they had, some of these players were in jeopardy of losing their homes. They're evacuating, staffers, all this. The fact that they took the weight of LA on their shoulders, went to Arizona, and were able to not just win the game, dominate the game from beginning to end against the Vikings. To me, this might not be the greatest story of all time. They might not get the final, victory. They might not win the Super Bowl, but that encapsulated what this year has been for this team, because nothing actually compares to that. Playing on a Tuesday night, the year they won the Super Bowl, doesn't compare to that. Playing without half their team because of COVID doesn't compare to that. But it is a credit to how talented, how resilient, how mentally tough they want their players to be. They always talk about, what does it take to be a Ram? This is what we want our archetype to be. And they want these guys that want to play football, they love football, but they're mentally tough, they're unflappable. And that is what the Rams were on Monday night against the Vikings. Unflappable. Nothing bothered them. And I just, I got to give them a lot of credit, and I got to give this coaching staff a lot of credit. And I think Chris Shula had the literal perfect game plan to stopping Sam Darnold. But I just got to give Sean McVey all the credit in the world, because this is a guy that people were basically counting out after the 2022 season. It's the worst Super Bowl defending team of all time. 5-12, 17 different offensive line combinations. He took some time after the season. People thought he could retire. And he was honest. And he's still honest to this day. He talks about it all the time. I'm a much better leader now than I was then. I appreciate things more. I took things for granted, after the Super Bowl. And to see what he's done after a 1-4 start. And he just, because we saw it in 2022, Alexis. We covered this team in 2022, and people were tired of the constant pressers where he'd be like, this isn't us. Our story's not written yet. And they're like 4-7, 4-8. And it really just felt, or 3 and whatever. And they just felt like, okay, this is a bad season. It is what it is. But what do you want him to say? Well, when he said that, and last year they went through the same thing, 3-6, go to 10-7. But when he started saying that again, right around 1-4, story's not written, all this, we believe our best football is after the bye, whatever. I think more people this time did buy into it, but there were still a lot of, doubters, including Rams fans. So to see what this team has overcome, going, where you lose your home playoff game that was supposed to have 80 to 85% Rams fans capacity, and you go to Arizona, and I want to make this very clear here. This is the thing that's never talked about, and it should be. They went to Arizona. That is the place that they were humiliated in week 2. That exact field, Alexis, they lost 41-10. And they said after that, this will never happen again. This is humbling. We're going to learn from this. We're going to clean it up. They won the next game against the 49ers. They lost 2 to the Packers and the Bears. At that point, people are thinking they're going to trade away Kupp, all these guys, whatever. They get off the bye, and they rip off a ton of wins. They've won 10 of the last 13. And right now, I just feel like it might not end in the Super Bowl, but this team isn't about to go down without a fight in Philly this weekend. So I'm excited to talk about it, but that kind of, I guess sets the stage about where I see, how I see everything. And I just can't stress enough how freaking proud I was watching that team show up. Offense has struggled all year to score on the first drive. They did that. They set the tone. It was all hands on deck effort, but man, are we going to talk about the defense? Because they were massive in that one.
Yes, the defense, had the game. I don't want to say the game of their lives, because you know what? I'm hoping that they have more games of their lives and they get play further in the playoffs. But the game of their lives so far for a lot of those young defenders, right? Jared Verse, Braden Fisk, rookie season. Incredible rookie seasons, but they've never played in a playoff game in the NFL, right? So not playing in the playoffs is huge for anybody, but especially a young defense that had so many people playing that hadn't been on that stage before and that were hungry and ready to play. And I think obviously you'd probably heard the noise that they were the underdogs, right? And you've got a very talented Vikings offense with Justin Jefferson and Aaron Jones. And Sam Darnold, say what you want about Sam Darnold. His team was 14-2.
Yeah,
he had a lot of games where he had looked really good this season, right? Jordan Addison too, T.J. Hawkinson. This Vikings offense, we have to give them credit, right? They're a very talented offense, and so our defense to have that kind of game against them just meant a lot. 9 sacks. That's insane.
What they'll say, Alexis, is that and I hear this all the time, and I want to ask Rams fans to take this into account as well. It's okay to give credit where credit's due. And in this case, I feel like a lot of people, Vikings fans and whatnot, kept saying, man, they're not playing their style of game today. They're beating themselves. No, they're being beaten. There's a cause and effect to everything. Like the Rams-Eagles game, when I was out there at SoFi Stadium, the Rams were getting dominated by the Eagles. Like that's what was happening. Like they weren't just beating themselves. We can always use that as a cop-out, but I think the Vikings were just put in positions that were very uncomfortable. They're not a team that's built to come back from, 17 or whatever. And the Rams put them in a 21-point deficit at halftime. And Sam Darnold, when that pressure's getting to him, it really gets to him. And the best way to do that is go up early on, punch him in the mouth early. And no lead is too big in the NFL, except when you have quarterbacks that really struggle against pressure. And Sam Darnold is one of them.
Yeah. And it was so fun to watch. I mean, it sounds like, the defense has been fun to watch in a lot of games this season, but I mean, to play like that again in a playoff game, I mean, Jared versus touchdown. I mean, knocked out by Ahkello Witherspoon.
That
so
was crazy.
your guy forces the sack, and then my guy scores a touchdown off of it. And it was like, I almost was sitting there going like, am I dreaming right now? Is this like a euphoric like dream? I'm going to wake up and I'm imagining this, because it was really crazy to watch. I mean, I was so happy for Jared to get that touchdown.
Yeah.
I mean, as a rookie and having the season that he's had, and then to go into your first playoff game and score a touchdown.
The team that passed on you for another edge defender, they passed on you for Dallas Turner, and I didn't see Dallas Turner playing much. So
yeah,
I'm just saying.
I mean, very poetic, and you know what? Big games from Witherspoon and Kobe Durant. And it just, I love to watch it. And I think that they're hot right now. So when we cover, kind of our thoughts about what we're going to look like against the Eagles, I mean, I feel really good about this defense. I think they're all playing at such a high level, and they're playing with such good chemistry that it's very fun to watch.
Yeah. And I think just, you look at what they did in that Vikings game. Kyron Williams ran the ball. Really good in pass protection, which it's not a shock, but I like highlighting it because that's so much of the running back game that gets kind of left because, this is the age of fantasy football and betting and no one cares about pass pro, but pass pro's huge. And, the Vikings were blitzing quite a bit. Stafford was having a lot of success, but if Kyron Williams isn't stepping in the face of pressure, Stafford gets sacked or hit or the ball gets knocked out on a few of those. So, credit to Kyron, and credit to these guys for continuing to fight. I mean, Tyler Higbee was the offense. And I did say he'd be the X factor in this one. I think I went 6 catches, 60 yards, and 2 touchdowns. And I think he was going to have, it felt like, honestly, like OBJ in the Super Bowl. Like they could not stop him. They had no answer. He goes down. Offense kind of takes a dial back. Now, I think that was by design because of how well the defense is playing. They're up 21, at the half. I think McVey, and this is part of, you have to do more than just win the game. Sometimes you can't show everything. When you're in the playoffs, you got to be very careful what you show. You're not trying to put that on tape. And so I do think sometimes you have to, obviously, if that game was really tight, Sean McVay would have had to put that out there. I don't believe Sean McVay put everything out on tape, this past week. I don't believe that Monday Night Football game was everything the Rams had on offense. So, of course, you come away with the thought, this is a 27-9 game that probably should have been way more points. And people were not overly impressed with the offense because they saw after Higbee goes down, it's like, they didn't really do much of anything. And, they had their moments, the touchdown, Davis Allen, they had, spurts, but they didn't dominate like a lot of people were hoping they would. And I think it was by design. I think they really knew that they had the game intact. Defense, the way they're playing, And they got a lot of respect for Sam Darnold, but you had to know when he was down by 21 at half, he's not built to come back from that because it takes away the run game. So the thing about football is when you're in offense, the whole thing that you have going for you is I don't know if you're going to throw it or run it. I don't know if, this motion is going to end up being, an end around to the wide receiver. But what I do know is when you're down by 21 and time is not on your side, you can't afford to continue to run it. You might run it here and there, but you can't afford to continue it. So that's when they became really one-dimensional. And you always hear people say, pin their ears back, right? That's what the Rams are doing. They're just pinning their ears back, rushing the passer, and having fun. And that team, even with 2 minutes to go, the Vikings look dead in the water, totally shot. And the Rams are just absolutely like Energizer bunnies all over the field. Every single play, even down to the last, they were pumped. So I just feel like, in this one, you see different contributors showing up. You see Neville Gallimore go for almost 2 sacks. You see Desjuan Johnson step up at the end of the game. Kobe Durant, who hasn't played in a while, he plays, week 18, every single snap looks really good. They end up putting him in the game plan. He gets a sack, and then he gets a pick on Sam Darnold. Was excellent. Only gave up 1 yard in coverage. You mentioned Ahkello Witherspoon. I don't know if he's ever had a sack in his career, but he forces a fumble. And to me, at that moment, Alexis, when he forces that fumble and Jared Verse takes it back, any doubt in my mind about them losing that game was washed away. I don't know how you come back from that because this isn't a home game for you and you're the 14-win team. All the pressure's on you. All the pressure was not on the Rams at that moment. I think they were just playing. When they got out in front, they're a really hard team to beat when they start off strong because this is one of the best second half adjusters in the league. And so when they get off to quick leads like that, that's not really what they've had to do. They win unconventionally, and this was another game where, they won unconventionally, but they also dominated the entirety of the game. And I just think anybody that's expecting a letdown, after you got it wrong, because a lot of people that were expecting a letdown in this one against the Vikings, there's so much riding on like the emotion, everything going on in LA. No, they rallied behind that. And I don't think that's going to stop just because they got the win. I don't think they're satisfied. They have championship pedigree on this team. Stafford knows his days are numbered. He's got 2 to 3 years left. He wants to win another ring. Like the competitive nature of this team and these young guys that don't understand they're not supposed to be as good as they are this early on in their career. This isn't normal. Like they don't know what they're supposed to be. I say let it rip. And I think, people can doubt them. People can say, well, the Eagles beat them this time and how they beat. I don't give a rip. I said it leaving SoFi Stadium. The Rams are outclassed on the offensive line and the defensive line. The Eagles have maybe the best offensive line. The Eagles have one of the best defensive lines. The issue was Jalen Hurts being able to move the chains and then Saquon Barkley. But I also did say if this team got healthy, the Rams, I could see them really catching fire. It's going to depend. And if they do, I had them, just like you, winning the Super Bowl this year before the season started. So it won't be a shock if they get healthy, they go on a run, they have a Super Bowl champion quarterback, they have a Super Bowl champion head coach. They have all the talent in the world in, some of those key positions. Won't be surprised if they do that. And I didn't think the NFC was that good. I was proven wrong. The NFC outclasses the AFC this year. But, who would you take in a winner-take-all game in the playoffs right now, Alexis, between Jalen Hurts, Jared Goff, Jaden Daniels, and Matthew Stafford? I would take Matthew Stafford. I think Jaden Daniels is a stud. I think Goff has played really well this year, and Jalen Hurts has gone to the Super Bowl. But Matthew Stafford won the Super Bowl. Jalen Hurts and Jared Goff lost the Super Bowl. So I think it really does come down to that. And then you have the defense playing the way they are. The Rams are too hot right now. I just don't think they're going to go down without a fight.
I agree with you, and we can get into that now. We can, shift from the Vikings to the Eagles and talk about this matchup that we're going to see Sunday um, against Philadelphia. And I guess we should start by maybe talking about the fact that it's going to be a snow game because a lot of people are having discourse about that. So if you didn't know, there is I don't remember when the last time I've seen 100% chance of snow was because I feel like the weather app is always giving, there's an 85% chance or a 90. No, it is 100% chance of 3 to 5 feet of snow in Philadelphia Sunday, January 19th. And it is supposed to be reportedly increasing in the afternoon. So I think the morning is supposed to be more of a light snow. And then as the day goes on, it's supposed to become like a steady snow. So Jake, it sounds like there's going to be snow. It sounds like this is going to be feet or inches. I think probably inches. Sorry, if not, there's not going to be 5 feet of snow.
No, you can't play football on 5 feet of snow.
Sorry, 3 to 5 inches.
I'm laughing just trying to think about that. Guys getting stuck in like it's quicksand. They're falling through the snow.
There would be some players who'd love that though.
I know. Well, do you remember that one game? I think it was Philadelphia. It was Philly and Detroit. It was like LaShawn McCoy got up and his whole face mask had, Maybe it'll be that.
Well, it won't be that bad, but it will be steadily snowing. And all the weather experts are like, it's going to be like it's going to be one of those snow games. I think it's going to be a true snow game. And it should be fun to watch. But what that means for the team, Jake, if you want to talk about this a little bit and, when you're covering a team, I mean, what you can expect in inclement weather is probably a lot of running the football. But if you're running the football, hold on to it, right? Because it's very slippery, especially in snow. I mean, it's you can't hold on to the ball. You see guys drop passes, wide open passes all the time. It's just hard to hang on to the ball. And also turnovers, like interceptions, right? You think about that. Ball slips out of your hand, quarterback's hands, it goes to somebody else. What do you think is going to be the biggest concern in this weather?
I think this weather is perfect for today's Rams. Perfect. Because I think it takes away Saquon Barkley's ability to, do what he does. And I think, I understand some people say, well, what about the tackling, slipping and all that? Yeah, that'll happen. But Barkley now can't put his foot in the ground and make those type of cuts that make him so dangerous. Because, yes, he's a big back and he's elusive. That's the thing that makes him so scary. The big back part is when he gets into the second level and now he's big. He's as big as the safety and they're not bringing him down. But the elusive part allows him to get to the second level. And if he's not able to do that and the Rams are able to force him, 3 and outs and what have you, and then all of a sudden they have Kyron Williams who can kind of do it all, right? They got a run game. They got Matthew Stafford who's played in cold weather before. I feel really good about this team because it's not like years past. So often you think when the Rams are good, you think they're good because they're offense. You think of the greatest show on turf. You think of Brandon Cooks, Robert Woods, Sammy Watkins, Cooper Kupp. That's why the Rams are good. That's not why the Rams are good this year. The Rams are good this year because they've won unconventional ways. They've won in multiple different games. They've won in the cold against the Jets. I continue to say that to me, and the 49er game on a 4 days to get ready for that game. Short week after beating Buffalo. You're expecting a letdown, and they find a way to win 12-6 against their arch rival 49ers in the pouring rain. So this team has faced adversity. They have faced, the elements. And in the past, while I would say being like a dome team, if you will, and having all that high octane passing, that could hurt them. I think in this game, the team that we've seen this year is less, high octane, athletically driven, finesse, all that. I think this team is more physical than Rams teams in the past. So I think the physicality of this defensive front, the physicality of this offensive line, I think that is going to be what decides this for the Rams. Like I said, in the past, I do think this would have been a nightmare for the Rams, an absolute nightmare. They lost games like this in the past, maybe not in the snow, but I just have this feeling, man, the way that they're playing, how they're not afraid, they're okay only scoring 20 points. Their defense for the last 5 games has given up less than 10 points. I just feel like right now, I trust this team. I trust them to go into Philly. I think this is a better matchup than them going against a week off Detroit Lions team that has a lot of speed. You know, you go to their house, they're built to play in a dome. That's just the reality of it. And you talk about how dangerous Saquon can be. Well, I could see Jahmyr Gibbs being like that as well. And I do think they match up against the Lions very well. I think that they can throw a lot at Jared Goff, you know, get him off balance, make him uncomfortable, and win that game. I think they can beat anybody, Alexis. I've said this. But I feel really good about this game. I do. I just feel like we're going to wake up, you know, Monday, and we're going to be like, well, you know, the people that at least doubted them, and they're going to be like, why did we not see this coming? Why was this nearly minus 300 on the books for Eagles money line? How did we not see that this Rams team is just on a tear right now? They have the better coach, the better quarterback. Their defense is playing as well as anybody. In that weather is catered to how they play. They're not trying to throw bombs down the field anymore. They don't have a Todd Gurley. They don't rely on that explosion. Kyron picks his spots. The one thing that can really hurt this team is the fumbling. So Kyron knows that. I almost feel like there's more of an emphasis when you have this weather that I don't think he's going to fumble in this game. I think he's going to, you know, take care of the football, and I think they're going to play. They're going to pick their spots, and they're going to win this thing wicked close. But who's going to care how they win it? As long as they win it, they move on. I mean, this team is 2-0 in the Sean McVey era when they get to the NFC title game, because that pretty much almost always, based on the last 2 times, means they're in the Super Bowl. And I think that's where they belong. I think their record does not indicate who they are. They had a lot of injuries to start the season. And unlike the 49ers, who let it completely tear them at the seams, the Rams, their culture, rallied around it, played great football after the bye, came back, threw some haymakers, and won 10 of their last 13. And to me, when you look at, you know, the last 13 games being played, the Rams are one of the best teams in the league right now. They just don't have the sexy points scored. They don't have 10, 30-point games like the Lions. But guess what? No one cares. No one is going to care if they win this game 2-0 if they end up going and winning the Super Bowl. That's the thing that people don't seem to understand. While this is an entertainment thing, it's an entertainment business, I'm fully aware of that. Might not be as entertaining if they go out there and score 38 as opposed to 2. No one is going to care. History is not going to go back and be like, they didn't deserve it. Right now, the Rams have a chance to take the toughest road ever taken to go to the Super Bowl. They played a 14-win team in the wild card round, which is unprecedented. That doesn't happen, right? Then they're now playing another 14-win team right now. And then if they win this game and the Commanders lose, they would be playing a 15-win team to go to the Super Bowl. And guess what, Alexis? I won't stop there. If the Chiefs were to meet them in the Super Bowl, they'd play another 15-win team. That would be the toughest road in the history of the sport. And for the people that always to this day say the Rams bought a championship, which is ridiculous. There's a salary cap, you morons. The Rams bought a championship. Or my favorite, Alexis, the Rams had an easy path. They played the 6th seed. The 49ers were better than the Packers. They just were. Packers were the number 1 seed. The 49ers were better. That's why the 49ers went to the NFC title game. And then if you want to say the Chiefs pissed their game away. The Bengals had to go into Arrowhead And they won. They were down 21-0 at halftime, and they pissed that lead away, and the Bengals took it from them. And you know what people were saying after that? Everyone was picking the Bengals. Everyone was saying, Joe Burrow, this is a team of destiny. And then the Rams started to dominate them early on. OBJ goes down. They struggle coming out of the second half. There's an awful face mask call that's not called for Ramsey. Higgins gets an 80-yard touchdown. Rams have to fight their way back despite having a third-string tight end, despite having most of their wide receivers out, no healthy running backs. And they find a way to beat the Bengals. And you know what they said after that game, Alexis? It started going away from team of destiny for the Bengals to, oh, they had an easy road. What? So the constant just, taking and pulling away, that can't happen if the Rams beat the teams that they have to beat. Even if they beat the Eagles and go into the NFC title game, this is already one of the craziest roads that you will ever have to take in any postseason, because you're essentially playing two number one seeds based on a 14 and 15 win team. That you can't take anything away from this Rams team if they're able to beat the Eagles this weekend, even if they lose next weekend. You can't take anything away from them for unprecedentedly beating a 14-seeded team when they had to basically relocate where they were practicing and relocate the game spur of the moment. That took away from them having that home field advantage. So that's how I feel. And people might not like it, but it's tough. I think the Rams, they've had to overcome a lot. I don't want to hear a damn thing.
That sounds like a team of destiny to me. If we really want to talk about teams of destiny.
I'm just saying.
But yeah, I mean, genuinely insane path, as you pointed out. And you know what? This Eagles team, as we've been talking about them, they're a very good team. We would be remiss if we didn't talk about what happened the first time we played them this season, right? Yeah. Unfortunately, Jake got to witness it firsthand. He was at SoFi Stadium when we played the Eagles there on Monday Night Football. And he didn't have a good time. I didn't have a good time. You all didn't have a good time. Let's just be honest about it, right? And let's talk about what happened during that game, Jake, that we need to avoid happening in our rematch against them. I mean, that game was one of those games, Jake, where it was like everything that could go wrong went wrong. It was such wretched, cursed energy from just the moment it started until the end. It was like, let's just talk about what went wrong. Obviously, I think the first thing that happened was Kyron's fumble. Not good, right?
That's, I think, the number one miscue there, because they dominated that first opening drive. And look at what they did against the Vikings. Once they scored, they put pressure on Sam Darnold and the Vikings. But Kyron's fumble, I also want to add some context to, because I don't know how it looked on TV. He fumbles, and it is, whatever, it's a fumble. They ran another play. I don't think I've ever seen them. Yeah. I don't think I've ever seen that before, where they ran another play and the officials gave, and again, it's a fumble. I'm not trying to say it's not, but this is the way things work. These are humans that we talk about how great the human error is when people are like, no, don't have robo umpires, have, regular. We like the human error. It makes us human. All right. But you had officials take away a fumble, or take away, a run, essentially, Kyron had when they were at the 17-yard line. And they ran another play. Yeah. And then they come back and they're like, oh, we're sorry. Sirianni actually threw the red flag. What? They also did that later on in the game, by the way, when they had the Bo Limmer holding call. I don't want to get ahead of myself, but we'll talk about that. But the first miscue, to your point, and it sucks. We both love Kyron, but that was massive. That really took away all the momentum they had. And I was at SoFi. That place was rocking when they got going on offense. People were ready for this. This is a primetime game. They're standing toe-to-toe with the Philadelphia Eagles after not the easiest road to that point. This is the first game, their chance to go over 500 for the first time all year. And yeah, just the way that offense was rolling, and then that happens, really unfortunate. But yes, you were saying.
Well, I was just saying I think that was the thing that kicked it off, and I was trying to find I had written down a sequence of events and now I cannot find it. But when we were talking about that game because that that was the first thing that kicked it off, but it wasn't the only thing that went wrong, right? It was one of those games where everything that could go wrong could go wrong, and not only did that happen, we happened to be playing against Saquon Barkley. And
Yeah.
that to me, I mean, Saquon Barkley put up legendary numbers against this Rams team. I mean, 255 yards rushing, right? Just in rushing. I mean,
Yeah. I'll add context
was,
to that too, by the way, because there's some things that need to be said about that. Like they didn't do a good enough job, but I did want to hit on the Bo Limmer holding penalty because there were. I highlighted this. You know me, I don't sleep. I was watching this game at 5 a.m. And rewatching it, the other day, and I wrote down all these notes, and I just feel like I was just the clarity. I had everything there that I wanted to say, and things were just working. Bo Limmer gets a holding call on 3rd and 3. It's incomplete, right? Like, it's not like it took away a touchdown. I'm not trying to say it did. But this is at the Philadelphia Eagles 14-yard line. Okay? And the Rams absolutely, who went, by the way, 3 for 3 on 4th down in this game offensively. They've been a really good 4th down team. Big reason, by the way, is Kyren Williams, because if it's 4th and 1, you just hand it to Kyren, and he's just so good at picking his spots and just kind of slithering his way for a first down. But they could have gone for it on 4th and 3. I believe they intended to. This is where the officials messed up again. So Nick Sirianni declines the penalty to make it 4th and 3. Straight declines it. And then there's a take back, Alexis. And now it's 3rd and 13. He's like, oh, I changed my mind. Accept it. So they move it back 10 yards, the holding call on Bo Limmer. And now it's 3rd and 13. So people would say, oh, well, at least you get another 3rd down. It's like, no, the Rams were going to go for it on 4th and 3, or the field goal would have been shorter. Now, 3rd and 13, guess what happens? There's a huge sack on Matthew Stafford. It makes it like a 40-something yard field goal for Cardi, and he misses it. Yeah. And so at that point in the game, you couldn't have that happen. And then the third miscue was Puka Nakua's OPI on 3rd and 9 at the Philadelphia 21. Now, I don't believe it was OPI. Those guys are hand fighting. I thought that was ridiculous. Bad call anyway. But the problem here is that it took away another red zone possession because he gets the first down, would have been past the Philadelphia 20. And there's about 5 to 6 minutes left in the ball game. You're potentially looking at a 30-22 game. I'm not saying they're going to win at that point, but they get 0 points on that drive because that call happens and then it kind of snowballs. So these miscues cost the Rams at least 9 points, a maximum of 21 points had they scored touchdowns on all 3. Now, I don't believe they would have scored touchdowns on all 3. I just think that's ridiculous. I'm not going to be that homer. But I do believe that had these things been erased, they score 7 on the first drive. The way they were moving, Eagles had no chance of stopping that offense. The script that they had, the game script right away, was just too good from Sean McVey. But then you have, the field goal. Let's just say they end up settling for the 3 on a 4th and 3. Or better yet, let's just say Stafford throws an incomplete pass, doesn't lose 10 yards on the sack, and Cardi, hits an easier field goal. So now you got 10 points there. And then let's just say you get 3 points and you kick a field goal on that Puka Nacua drive that you get nothing on. That's 13. That makes it a little bit of a different game. A game that they lost 37-20 is now 33-37. So really my point here is that this game was closer than I realized. When I was at the game, it felt like they should have won early on. They should have been winning. things happen, it snowballed. But when I really went back and I watched the tape, they really had opportunities to get back in this. They actually responded on multiple occurrences and made this a game. And they had miscues that really hurt them. When they had those penalties, this offense is moving the ball, which is a really good sign, because we know in the past, Vic Fangio has had Sean McVay's number. If you take anything away from this game positively, they could not stop Stafford. They could not stop Nakua. Kyron was running for 4.5, 4.8 yards per carry against them. So they couldn't really stop Kyron. He just had the fumble. But that's the thing, is that this offense was moving the ball well, and then they get hit with an offensive penalty, holding whatever. So now a first down on third down becomes a third down and 13, and it kind of changed the game. There were multiple calls on that. I'm not blaming the refs at all. I'm just saying those are miscues. So even if they weren't penalties or not, doesn't matter. They're miscues. You can't have that. So those long penalties, well, now what does that do, Alexis? It does exactly what we were just talking about, bringing it all, wrapping around to Sam Darnold. Look, Stafford is way better under pressure than Sam Darnold. But Stafford wasn't dealing with a starting offensive line. As a matter of fact, this offensive line is 8-1 when they have 4 of the 5 guys starting. They're undefeated when they have all 5, believe it or not. They're 4-0. They did not have Avenstein that night. Regardless of what any Eagles fan tells you, because I've seen it all over social media, they were fully healthy. No, they were not. They had Warren McClendon Jr. at right tackle, and that is where most of the pressures came from, the right side. And when Matthew Stafford had those third and longs, and the way that they were attacking this team was the short passing attack, and Puka Nacua yards after the catch and all that, and having Kyron Williams run on those third and shorts, right? I just feel like those third and longs now, they were able to just have those guys. They blitzed Nakobe Dean like crazy, who will not be playing in this game. They had Brandon Graham going off, who will not be playing in this game. And I just feel like those third and longs, man, they really struggle just as much on the other side, where it seems like the defense seems to just give up third and longs. They've always had that in their DNA. We've always been ripping our hair out over that. But yeah, Alexis, when looking at this game, there are a lot of things that they can correct. And guess what? The gap assignments and being sound in your gap responsibility in the run game, they were not that night. They really showed their age, their youth. But since then, they haven't lost a game that matters. Week 18, they didn't have their starters in for the most part. Since the Eagles game, they are undefeated in games that matter. And there's a reason for that, because they didn't just say everything to make people feel good and allow these reporters to write nice articles and get fans excited. No, they took that on the chin and they actually learned from it. You learn more losses than you do in your wins. And this team made every adjustment in the book after that Eagles game. That's not happening again.
So I think that, to me, if we talk about kind of what our keys are for the offense and the defense, for me, I think the number one thing on your list is you have to shut down Saquon Barkley.
Yeah.
To me, I think that's the number one issue there. I mean, he absolutely decimated us when we last played against them. 255 yards rushing. I mean, I think if you add in his receiving yards, he's over 300 yards. Yeah. I mean, he absolutely destroyed us. And I think that if you can at least start with the run game, shut down the run game, don't give them anything with Saquon Barkley, make Jalen Hurts throw the ball, and go from there. So I don't know if you are in agreement with me on that, but I think that you absolutely, the way that the Eagles, they can't win, I think, if you shut down Saquon Barkley. I don't. What do you think about that?
Well, yeah, I don't see a pathway to winning the game if Barkley doesn't, have a good game. I don't see that from the Eagles. Now, what I want to say is that with Barkley, and he had a great game, but there's that last run, I think it was around the 2-minute mark, where the Rams, and I just watched this play, the Rams are going kind of all out on a 3rd and 6 or 3rd and 5. And it's like, they know this game is over if they don't make a stop. It was pretty much over. Barkley houses it. At that point in the game, I believe it was 30-14. So the Rams really needed a stop. And, everyone talks about that Barkley touchdown run. The one at the half was the one, to me, that was really impressive. The one in the 2 minutes, it's no different. He slid down against the Packers. Like, he didn't even take that against the Packers. That was the game. Like, that was it. Like, he got the first down, and that was good, and he was just gone. So I guess I don't want to take credit away from him, but I do feel like the 255 number is a little skewed because it's almost like that was a garbage time run in a sense. Like, they just threw an all-out blitz, and you know what I mean? So that's what I'll say about that. But as far as the Rams are concerned, you know, we talk about how can they go into Philadelphia with one of the best offensive lines in the league, one of the best defensive lines in the league, really good secondary, elite defensive coordinator, a team, you know, that's been in the Super Bowl, Jalen Hurts, his mobility, Saquon Barkley, the receivers, A.J. Brown, you know, Devontae Smith didn't play, you know, in that game, to be fair, in Week 12. Dallas Goedert, very, very good tight end, obviously just needs to stay healthy. They have a really good football team. They're not overly, like, when I hear that they're amazing and I hear they're the best, I think they're the most well-rounded. I don't necessarily believe they're the most dominant or anything like that. Like, for instance, you watched the Packers Eagles game, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That game, did the Eagles look dominant to you? Like, I just felt like there was something missing there where they had 4 turnovers, and yet I just didn't feel like they were dominating. They kept the Packers in the game for the majority of the time. The Rams really dominated the Vikings, who are better, by the way. I just feel like with the Rams, this team, I feel like they've been playing like kind of a little bit of a conservative offense. And now in the snow, you know who's going to be really the key weapon, I think? It's actually not Kyren Williams, who I think is going to run the ball a lot. They've kind of dialed back his usage after having him run 58 times in 2 games in 4 days, Bills and 49ers. I think Nakua is everything to the offense. But it's not the way that you would think. Nakua, after the catch, is like a car crash. He is going to be bone crushing in that cold. Trying to tackle him is going to be a nightmare. And so I think the Rams are going to use that to their advantage. I think they're also going to get... We haven't seen it all year. I've been pushing it. I think we get some jumbo packages. I think we see Jonah Jackson as the 6th offensive lineman, and I think they are going to have success in the ground game again. I also think, you know, people are saying all this stuff. Oh, Stafford's 1-8 when it rains or snows. All right. Well, the last time I doubted Stafford in the rain was the Ravens game. I thought that like Kyren Williams would get like 40 carries in that game because it was awful weather. We all remember what Stafford did. He threw 4 touchdowns in that one. Yeah. Stafford, since he's gone to the playoffs with the Rams, he's lost just 1 game. He's, I believe, he's 5-1, 4-1, 5-1. He's been so good in the playoffs. He's got the weapons. The offensive line is healthy. And then that defense, the way they're playing. I feel like, and Blaine actually brought this up to me, so I'm going to give Blaine a lot of credit on this. I thought this was pretty cool. So Blaine noticed something when he went through. If you take out the 41-7 win over Dallas in Week 17, and Dallas is playing, like, I think Trey Lance played or whatever, you take out that 41-7 win in Week 17, the average margin for victory for the Eagles has been 5.5 points on grass. Do you know what the average margin for victory on turf has been for the Eagles? 18.8. So they have been asserting their dominance in domes, on turf. But ironically, where they play at home, they don't dominate teams. They don't blow teams away. And I think the dangerous team for the Rams, in my opinion, is a team that can just come out right away, just throw haymakers. Because I don't think this team, if you look at the Rams, this is not a team based on, they're not in the past. Like, they're not coming back from a 14 or 17 point deficit. I just don't believe they are. Not in this weather anyway. But if this game stays close, I don't know. I think the Rams are in a really good position. I don't care that they're on the road. They've been a great road team this year. How many straight road games have they won? I'll let you talk and I'll find out that number.
Well, we're in agreement, I think, about what's going to happen going into this game. And I feel really, really good about where the Rams are at. And I think that, on defense, like I said, I think that they need to do their best attempt at shutting down Saquon, or at least minimizing his damage. And then I think offensively, if the weather is snowing, right, it's a 100% chance, but with the Weather Channel app, I wouldn't be shocked if that's a lie. So as of right now, it's 100% chance of snow. So assuming that holds true, I think Kyren Williams could have a big game. I know that in the snow, I know that he already has kind of, people are like, oh my God, he fumbles or whatever. Running backs in the snow, it's obviously a lot harder, but I really think that, he looked good against the Eagles. And this is something you said to me too, because you were there at the game. And we were like, it's a shame because he actually, the rest of the game, ran really well against the Eagles.
He did.
And he had 2 massive runs that were called back because of holding calls too. So he ended up rushing
against the Vikings as well.
Yeah, exactly. He had like an insanely longest one of his season, I think, that got called back against the Vikings. But he had 2 really good runs against the Eagles, called back. So he would have rushed for over 100 yards. He ended up rushing for 76. So, I think that he could potentially have a big game. And I think that if I'm the offense, I might start out trying to, get the run game going and have the run game take over. And then if you have to end up throwing, you do that. But I think that that's where I would start. We're going to have, hopefully, it sounds like we're going to have Tyler Higbee back.
That's the thing. You got Higbee, Kello, Alaric, Bobby Brown. They're all going to play. All hands on deck. Everyone is healthy. That is a good sign. I did get the stat, by the way. 5 straight road games. Rams are 5-0 in the last 5 road games. I'm just saying, like, traveling isn't anything new for this team. As a matter of fact, I believe, what was it? They're 11-0 in games. This is somewhat of a cherry pick stat, but hear me out. I actually like it. I do. Because normally it's like, oh, yeah, they've won 10 games when the moon is blue, and it's ridiculous. But no, this one, hear me out. It's a little bit long, but I get it. So in games where they have at least, they're underdogs by at least 6 points, and they're on a short week, the Rams are 11-0. That's pretty wild.
Yeah.
Like, I know it's cherry picked to a degree, but you can see why. Like, when are they 6+ point underdogs? On a short week too. Sean McVey has guys ready to go on a short week. I always say this. When people bring up the short week BS, I still say to this day, before I even met you, the 2018 Super Bowl, okay? Sean McVay beats the Patriots if that is 1 week. I think the extra week got him to overthink everything he did the previous week. He probably went back on his game plan 4 times. I think he probably found the perfect game plan to stop the Patriots and beat them, and he changed his mind so many times. You could see it in the Super Bowl. He just looked like he was trying to be too cute and trying to do everything and reinvent the wheel. I bet you had the perfect game plan and just kept saying, but Belichick. I like Sean McVay on a short week. I don't want him overthinking. Right?
Yeah.
That's how I feel.
I agree with you. And I think we should get into our kind of bold predictions for this game. We always give 3 bold predictions.
Let's do it.
Do you want to go first or second?
Ladies first.
All right, so I'll go first. And I already kind of hinted at it earlier because my first prediction, and I guess we shouldn't really say bold. We've done it bold and we've done it cautious. I'm a little superstitious, so going into playoff games, I don't really like to give these like, dramatic. I'm just going to play it very safe. But my first prediction is that Kyren Williams is going to have 2 touchdowns. Ooh. Now, I'm not going to say whether they're going to be rushing or receiving because, as we've seen recently, it could be either one of those. He's amazing really grown as a receiver. It was an amazing play, and as you and I saw on Twitter, Kurt Warner actually said that Kyren Williams touchdown against the Vikings was really a busted play. Like that, Kyren ran that route just because he saw that it was open. That wasn't the plan.
Yeah.
And so makes the touchdown even sweeter, I guess. But yeah, my number one prediction is Kyren Williams 2 touchdowns. I think that he could have a big game against the Eagles. My second prediction is I think that the Rams are going to get at least 4 sacks. And I know that might sound crazy because I give credit to the Eagles offensive line. I give credit to Jalen Hurts. But I think 4 sacks, honestly, is like not that crazy. I can't tell by your reaction if you're just like, wow, that is. I'm
soaking it all in. I said 5+ sacks and they ended up with 9. So let's keep the sack.
Yeah.
The sack guesses,
I feel good. I feel like the defensive front is hot.
Yeah.
They've been ramping up each game and they looked really good against the Vikings. And I don't know. I know it's probably, but I'm going to say 4 sacks on the defensive side. And then my third prediction is going to be a Joshua Carty 50+ yard field goal.
Damn. It's going to. Vinatieri over here. Is that going to win the game?
That was my little fun one. Sure. Yep.
Sure. Yep, okay. All right.
Well, I mean, I do think not to.
God, are we tied at that point, or is this like you lose if you miss it?
No,
I don't know if I'll be able to.
I don't think it's going to be game winning. I think it's going to be early on in the game when the snow, because the snow's supposed to get worse, right? So I think that the light, steady snow will be coming down, and he's going to hit it, and we're going to be like maybe it's the first Rams score of the game, unless maybe they'll score a touchdown on the opening drive 2 weeks in a row, and we'd be like, who would have thought? Look at us. Who would have
thought? Not me.
Yeah, who would have thought? Not me. So those are all my predictions. But it's none of those are. I mean, the last one's kind of insane, and that's obviously just like me. Right.
Carty's hit 15 straight field goals, by the way, so he's been really good.
He's been hot. That's true.
There's a lot of these guys playing their best ball in January. A lot of them, not all of them, but not Jake, all of them.
Give your predictions now and make yours really, really bold. Since I was like, I kind of like.
Ooh.
Was soft.
Are we speaking it into the ether? Which we got 2 super chats, so we'll get to those. Just want to let people know, of course. So I don't think we're ignoring them. Do I speak into the ether a Michael Hoyt punt block? Do I do it?
Do it. It would just feel right.
I feel their special teams. This goes back to the Bills game. I feel it in my bones. The Rams special teams unit is gonna block either a kick or a punt. I feel it in my bones. Like I don't know, man. Maybe I'm wrong, but that's what I'll say in my first one. The Rams special teams unit, with parentheses potentially Michael Hoyt. Because he's had 3, are going to block a Philadelphia Eagles kick or punt. Or, Jordan Whittington is going to take it back for 6. There's going to be a kick 6, a punt block 6, or a return for a touchdown. I feel it. I do. So that's the first one. I know that's kind of like checking all the boxes. Also, real quick, Eagles fans act like the Rams didn't play anybody. They lead in strength of schedule and they lead in strength of victory. So, shh. If the Rams got to play the Giants and the Dallas Cowboys 4 of their games this year, yeah, okay. Miss me with that. Anyway, we move on. All right, the next one. Let's see. We got the punt block or really good special team play in short. So the next one I'm going to say here is that I think Puka Nacua is going to go for 150 total yards in this game because I think he's going to run it and I think he's going to catch passes against a team that plays cover 6 more than anybody in the NFL at 17.4% clip. And this team that resides in zone coverage 83% of the time, I'll go with the guy that is known for finding the soft spot in the zone, sitting in there, taking a big hit, staying on his feet, and getting yards after the catch. And I just think Puka Nacua, I thought, like, totally understand why people would think maybe this is the Cup game, maybe they've been saving him. I don't think so. I think this is the Nacua game because Nacua last week didn't really do a ton. If you really think about it, he had that one big catch to start the game, right? The first play of the game. And then he didn't really do much after that. I think he had like 20-something yards the rest of the way. I think Nacua, who had over 100 yards against the Eagles, is going to have 150 in this game total because I think they're going to use him in the run game as well, which they've been doing as of late. And last, but certainly not least, they didn't win the last time they played the Eagles when this guy started, but he made a really big impact, gave him a chance, came down with an interception in the end zone. Ahkello Witherspoon is going to make a game-breaking play, whether that it's another strip sack, which I don't know why he's getting another sack in this game, or what have you. Ahkello didn't get a chance to start against the Eagles at SoFi in Week 12. And in games where he has 55% of the snaps at corner, Rams are 7-1. So and the only one that they lost was when Ahkello was basically asked to play safety against the Packers, which was, I'm not even going to get into that. Anyway, I think Ahkello Witherspoon is going to come away with a game-breaking play, and I think the Rams are going to win this game 24-23. I think right now the Eagles are very well-rounded, but I have some concerns about the Eagles. I think Jalen Hurts, since the concussion, he did not look great last week. It's okay to admit that. I haven't been overly impressed with him as of late. I feel like he's been a tick off. I think Saquon Barkley is way too obvious. Like, he's going to do something, but I don't think he's going to be nearly as effective as people are saying in the snow. I think right now, when you look at A.J. Brown, I think they're going through something with him that the Rams went through with Todd Gurley the year they went to the Super Bowl. I think that knee is in bad shape. I don't think they want anybody to know about it. Todd Gurley was kind of like the bad kept secret. I think A.J. Brown is going to be in jeopardy of getting out of this game with an injury because I think the knee is not in great shape. He's taken time off. He wasn't really targeted last week, and now he's playing in the snow. And so I think right now, I think A.J. Brown, we know what he can do, but I think there's a concern there. Then you have Devontae Smith, obviously didn't play Week 12. He's still very, very talented. But the way that this Rams secondary has been playing has been kind of going under the radar because we look at the 9 sacks and we watch the broadcast view and we see, oh, these guys are eating. This is all, pass rush, whatever. I went back watching the tape. A lot of that, not all of it, but a lot of that was because of the secondary. When Sam Darnold got off his first read, the second read was blanketed. The third read was blanketed. Made it easier for that pass rush to get there. There were plays where he's holding the ball for 5-6 seconds. So I just feel like in this one, they are going to play some more man. They're obviously going to mix in their zone. They play cover 3 more than anything. They'll definitely have that. But I just feel like that pass rush is still going to be hot. They're still going to be able to get after Hurts. They got after Hurts at the beginning of the game against the Eagles at SoFi. And I think with that secondary now in their final form, you're using Kobe, you're using Darius, you're using Kello, you're playing your strengths. I think they're going to be in a really good position here to make this tough on them. And then, I think with the offensive line, the Rams use a lot of play action. And as of late, they've been using a lot of play action. And Stafford just looks so good in play action. And when you see that one throw that he makes where the guy is almost about to just nail him, and he's able to throw off his back foot and just throw an absolute seed where that same play happens to Darnold on the Kobe Durant blitz, and he just gets freaked out and runs back 10 yards and gets sacked. That's the difference. You're talking about an all-timer in Matthew Stafford. And so I think Stafford is going to have a better game than people think. And I think they're going to do enough where, yeah, this is going to be a 24-23 ball game. I could see the Rams winning maybe a little bit more, but I think the Rams are going to take care of business here. I do. I don't believe... How long has it been since the Eagles have beaten them in the playoffs? It's been like 75 years. It's weird that they've only played 3 times in that span. They've won the last 2 meetings. Obviously, we know what happened when the Rams beat the Eagles the last time. They ended up going on to the Super Bowl. They did lose to the Patriots, but they went to the Super Bowl when they beat the Eagles. I think they're going to the Super Bowl again against the Bills. So, yeah, I think the Rams win this game. I think it's going to be really close. I think the Eagles are a really good football team. I have a lot of respect for that organization, what they've done. Howie Roseman's a fantastic general manager. They have a lot of different players that I'm concerned about. Zach Bond he'd probably get my vote for Defensive Player of the Year. He's been unbelievable. But I think the injury to Nakobe Dean also matters. I think not having Brandon Graham matters. I think there are ways to attack this Eagles defense, and I'm not worried about this game. And I'll also say this. Everyone's going to talk about, the Eagles. Oh, they got bulletin board material because Jared Verse says he hates Eagles fans. Well, if we're doing that, how about everyone in Philly, including the media, has been saying, this is the team we want. They're already getting ready for Detroit. I mean, like that's how it is in Philly. So I don't want to hear that. I think that's BS. And if you think the Rams are going to come out unprepared and get punched in the mouth and it's going to be a rug pull of a game, then there's some East Coast bias in your blood and you haven't been paying attention to the Rams. The Rams are coming, and I think they're going to win this game.
Well, Jake, I'm with you. I think the Rams are winning as well. I do have my scores 24-21, so maybe that Josh Carty field goal that we talked about, maybe it does end up happening, at the end to put the Rams over the top. But I think it's going to be a close game. I don't know that I think it's going to be one of those hard-fought, just brutal football games, and in the snow, right? A snow game. And I think that, the Rams are really going to step up like they have been, the past several weeks, especially defensively. I think this defense is on a hot streak. I think they're going to have a very good game. Stafford is a veteran. He's played in these moments before. He's played in this weather before. I think that the Rams on offense are going to play solid. They might be brutal to watch at times, as we've seen throughout the season. I don't doubt that they might give us more of those moments against the Eagles, but I'm taking the Rams 24-21 as well. And Jake, you and I will both be praying from now until game day that we're right. And you know what? It doesn't matter if we get our scores right or not. As long as they win, they could win by 1 point, they could win by 40 points. As long as the Rams win, nothing else matters. It's the playoffs, win or go home. And Jake, we have some super chats that I don't want to miss.
We do
from throughout the episode. So let's go to those in a second. But to wrap this up, Jake, I mean, you and I think are on the same page. I think most of the people I'm reading the chats right now on YouTube are on the same page as well. People who are Rams fans. That we feel good about the Rams going into this game.
Yeah. I mean, since 2021, when Stafford became the quarterback of the Rams are 19-3 from December to February in games that he's played. That's an 86% win percentage. That's the best among all quarterbacks, minimum of 10 games played in the entire NFL. So when I say there's not a quarterback that I would take over him in these games, I mean it, and that's why I say it. In addition to that, because I saw some people in the comment section talking about Nakobe Dean and how it's no big deal. You got a veteran in Oren Burks. I respect Burks. He's a veteran. He's been in this league, but Burks is one of the best he's one of the worst tackling linebackers I have ever seen. And that's when there's no snow. So I think Kyron is going to be able to attack, get to that second level. And I think he's going to make some guys miss. And Kyron is going to, let's just put it this way. I think people are going to be saying pay Kyron Williams after this game. I do. So that's how I see it. We'll see what ends up happening. Let's get into the super chats here. We got Stan. Rams must control the clock. Enjoy your weekend, everyone. Appreciate you, Stan.
Yes, thank you. And that's a good point.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, very similar to the Eagles game in 2023 when they just bled the clock and they won, I think it was 23-14. I absolutely agree. Control the clock. Yeah, it bleed it. I mean, this is how the Rams win football games. They don't win them pretty. This is likely going to be an ugly game. We'll see. But I agree with you, Stan. Thank you. Paul, the seafood chef, thank you for the 20. We don't need an easy road to the Super Bowl. We just need to win. Love you both. Horns up. I agree. I mean, it's the same thing I said about, because everyone's freaking out. Well, Eagles fans are freaking out about who is officiating this game. It's Sean Smith. Yeah. And, the Rams are, I think, 7-3 when he officiates their games. I forget what it was. But I don't need an advantage. I just want fair officiating. I'll tell you, we haven't talked about this really. I think that officiating from John Hussey was some of the worst I've ever seen. That was the most one-sided officiated game I've ever seen. And it was one of those things where it didn't matter because the Rams didn't let it matter, which goes to what you say, don't be in games where it's won and lost by officiating. Still, you don't get a free pass for being that bad. It was 10 penalties for the Rams for 95 yards. And if they don't call that Kyron Williams face mask, Alexis, it would have been 1 penalty for 5 yards for the whole game. That's what would have been on the Vikings. So it didn't matter, but I'm not going to give Hussey a pass on that one. Deb, appreciate you. Thank you for the 10. This is the game we need to get Jay Witt in. Totally agree. He can make plays after the catch or use him in some trick run play. Please, Jay Witt is my chant. I'm with you. I've been pushing the number 88, the campaign. I mean, I can't help but think next year they're going to just let him go. But I feel like this year he's been kind of restrained like Van Jefferson was his rookie year. That's just how I feel. Maybe I'm wrong, but I don't know.
I'd love to see more of him.
Yeah. Mark, thank you for the 10.
Thank you, Mark.
Why do I feel worse about this game than the NFC Championship versus the 49ers? I hope our offense shows some heart. Well, one thing I will tell you is that it is wicked hard to beat a team 3 times in a season. So that's probably why you felt a little bit better about the 49ers game. I think you feel worse about this game because I think the mainstream sports media has led you to believe that the Eagles are this juggernaut, and I think they're a good team, but they're not. They don't have an 85 Bears defense. They don't have a greatest show on turf offense. They don't have the Peyton Manning Broncos offense. They don't have Tom Brady. The Eagles are beatable. And I mean, we've seen that. And that's the thing is that those games where, we talked about it, 5.5, point differential on grass and losing to the Commanders and losing to the Falcons, who, by the way, the Falcons play a very similar defense to the Rams. I mean, I think I'll go as far as to say this too. Alexis, if they won that game against the Eagles, I don't think the Rams would have learned a damn thing. I think they'd be vulnerable in this state. I think that game really kind of molded them into what they ended up being. So I don't take that loss for granted. I mean, I would have preferred to not travel 3,000 miles and see that, but it is what it is. Ruiz, speaking of which, sat next to him at the game. Shout out to Ruiz for getting me out there. $255, all Eagles fans saying Cancun one way is $255. I don't know. You'd have to fact check that. I don't know if that's 100% accurate, but that's hilarious if so. Mm-hmm. I like it either way. Deb, if Reader plays, I'm going to puke. So Troy Reader did come on this show out of Delaware, friend of the show, so I'm not going to say that about him. I would just say I agree with the decision to activate Troy Reader, to activate Laryl Murchison, beef up your defensive depth. Injuries can happen in any game. Injuries can really happen in snow games. You're losing your footing. You're having false steps. Guys are out of positioning. So I think it's smart to have more linebackers active on game day and have more defensive linemen active on game day. So I agreed with it. I don't think he's going to play a ton of snaps, but appreciate the 2, Deb.
Thank you, Deb.
So yeah, that's
So in closing, Jake and I both have the Rams beating the Eagles on Sunday, and we think it's going to be a close game, but a one that the Rams win. And Jake, I think again that's really all that we can ask for. That's all that I care about. Just win the game. It doesn't have to be pretty. It could give me a heart attack. Just win the game. Right? Advance. And I think that the Rams are going to do that this Sunday against the Eagles. And we will be back to talk about it, Jake.
Oh, they're saying that Reader's out.
You know what? He actually did not practice today.
So
I don't think he did. I think that
I didn't see the injury report, but let me see.
I saw it just before we got on.
Oh, okay. So they fully participated, Reader and Murchison, and they're both out. Questionable Alaric, Bobby Brown, Akello, and Diedick, they're all going to play, as McVey said. And Tyler Higbee did not even carry an injury designation going into the game, which...
Hell yeah.
That's huge because he was spitting up blood, and that's, not great. We do have more super chats real quick. Matthew, member of 40 months on this channel. Appreciate you, Matthew. Good evening, guys. Rams going to win in a hard-fought game. I believe both teams will play hard, and it may come down to a field goal. Yeah. Alexis will probably be right, which I will take.
I could be right. Mm-hmm.
Edwin, thank you for the 20. This is for Alexis.
Thank you, Edwin.
I'll let you read it.
Thank you, Edwin, by the way, for this. So Edwin says, this is for Alexis. I appreciate you taking your own personal time to help a place you weren't born in. It means a lot to us, and you make us all so proud to be a Rams fan. LA strong. Thank you, Edwin. That's very, very nice of you. I appreciate it, and I'm happy to help so many people who watch our show in a city that I care a lot about and love in LA. So thank you very much.
Yeah, that's awesome. And then Brian, to wrap us up, you two are amazing. Go Rams. Thank you.
Thank you, Brian.
Appreciate you, Brian. So
go Rams.
That is that's gonna do it. I'll let you close it out. You got your saying.
I'll do my outro. So as always, if you like what you hear, please like and subscribe. You can follow us on social media at Downtown Rams. You can follow me on Twitter/X at @AlexisCraft. And then I'm on Instagram just at AlexisCraft with a K. You can follow Jake on Twitter and Instagram at JKBogan. And guys, like I said, we will be back to cover this game on Monday night. But until then, as always, stay safe, take care, and go Rams.